In the 60s and 70s, a different type of art was being produced. Not art made for a gallery or a museum, and not art that could be confined by a frame or a pedestal. Artists such as Robert Smithson, Nancy Holt, and Michael Heiser were swapping out the gallery space for the blank canvas of nature. And this was a form of political rebellion against the art world. So if you're rebelling against the art world, if you're fed up with the museum system and the status quo, who's supposed to take care of the art? Hello, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Christopher West, and this is a place where we can talk about modern and contemporary art and design. And today I want to talk about the Dia Art Foundation. And to do this, we need to go back to the 1960s and 70s. I think one of the most interesting times in art making. This was when artists were more interested in making art and less interested in selling art. If you watched my video on Vito Acconci, you might remember he was often making art, performance art, on the street. But he also would often not tell anyone he was making it. This was art that intentionally omitted the audience. And it was also a time of giant land art. Michael Heiser, who I also featured in a previous video, was making art in the desert, miles away from civilization and with a bulldozer. Robert Smithson was putting rocks in the Great Salt Lake. Nancy Holt was making sun tunnels in Utah out of concrete and steel. And there were people that recognized the importance of this work and that this was a new kind of art. But the traditional way of making a living as an artist, make work, give it to a gallery, sell it, repeat, didn't apply here. So in 1974, a group of 3 visionary art lovers created the Dia Art Foundation. There was the German art dealer Heiner Friedrich, curator Helen Winkler, and oil heiress Philippa de Mentel came together with the common goal of funding the creation of modern art. They would provide a small number of promising artists with generous funding to create large-scale, avant-garde works of art that couldn't be created otherwise. An important artist in the early days of Dia was Walter de Maria. In 1977, they would commission 3 works by the artist: the New York Earth Room, the Lightning Field in New Mexico, and the Vertical Earth Kilometer in Kassel, Germany. And in 1979, they commissioned the Broken Kilometer in New York City. All of these sites you can continue to visit to this day. And throughout the years, they would also collaborate with other organizations to realize the aspirations of artists. Artists like Donald Judd, who wanted to buy a series of decommissioned military buildings in Marfa, Texas. They supported permanent projects such as Michael Heiser's City in Nevada and James Turrell's Rodan Crater in Arizona. But by the mid-80s, they ran into financial troubles, which forced them to sell 18 works from their collection to try and salvage the foundation. And a new board of trustees was appointed to replace the financially disastrous predecessors. And in just a few years, the debts had been paid. And so, in 1987, they opened their main exhibition space in the Chelsea district of New York City. Even with a new board and physical location, the goals of the original founders remains the same and continues to this day: to help artists achieve visionary projects that might not otherwise be realized. And they continue to fund projects they were early supporters of. In 1999, they acquired Smithson's Spiral Jetty. And in 2018, they acquired Nancy Holt's Sun Tunnels for their permanent collection. And just this year, they acquired Cameron Rowland's Depreciation from 2018, a project that requires much more research on my part, but is certainly deserving of a video on its own. But there was one more acquisition to come, and I think possibly their most important. It was an old abandoned factory about 90 minutes north of New York City. And I'm going to tell you all about that and how it became my favorite place in the world in the next video. If these works we've been talking about sounded all interesting to you, I've done a couple videos on artists that are represented extensively in Dia's collection, and I'll put the links to those videos up here. If you like content like this, I'm a relatively new YouTuber, so I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to this channel and do all the things that help others find these videos too. So thanks again for watching. We're talking about my favorite place in the world on the next video, so I hope to see you then. Ciao.